you're pissed off right now, you might have very good reason to be. And if people want to talk about peace and love and togetherness right now, I got news for you. I'm all in once I see enough to know it's real. To know it's not just some tune people are deciding to whistle on May 3rd, 2020, because that happens to be the thing to do at the moment. Somehow, some way, we got to keep driving the point home. Some of us, all we really want to do is make sense. Some of us, all we really want to do is work for the people. You got people that aren't that bright, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Problem is you got people all over the place. They're pretty bright, they're running around, and they're up to no good. You got a whole bunch of other people going along with all types of crap because they're not very bright. Been going on some time. No way of telling how long it's been going on. No way of stopping it without going negative sometimes. People tell you don't go negative. People tell you you get more flies with honey than vinegar. People tell you all types of shit. Got to go negative when you're dealing with evil. I don't know of a better way of putting it. You got all types of ways describing the stuff people are doing. You could go to psychological route, say they're malignant narcissists or sociopaths or psychopaths, etc., etc. And we're not wrong. Problem is, people hear this stuff and they don't have any background in psychology. If it so happens they don't agree with you, then they start playing psychologist on you. It's the easiest thing in the world to look at somebody's background and the forces that shaped them, somebody, what somebody's got going on, start playing psychologist on them to shut them up. People are going to need to show a willingness to get pissed off at some of the shit going on and not be afraid about somebody calling them nuts. It's been going on for some time, not doing anybody any good, making everything worse. Nothing wrong with psychology. Problem, it's been exploited. It's been exploited by people who are up to no good. Little pieces of it have been tossed in the hands of people who aren't very bright. We got a dynamic going on where people are up to no good and they're pulling the strings of people who aren't very bright. I don't know what to tell you at this point. People let their strings get pulled. If strings are going to get pulled, let's at least have people with good intentions doing the pulling. People are going to start having to drive the point home if we want things to get better on a large scale. It's that simple. Not all sweetness and light all the time. Happens to be an election year and quite likely a very consequential one. At this point, I'm half ready to say, let's give Mr. Trump another 4 years, see what happens. If it turns out catastrophic, that might just be a necessary turning point for our country to go through that. On the other hand, if it turns out he can be reasoned with and actually we get to have America being great again, I believe that would most likely entail a miracle in the field of psychology and human interpersonal relations. In either event, it may well turn out to be necessary. So listen, I don't know what's going on with Uncle Joe. Seems like they're trying to bring him down with the Me Too business. Maybe there's some substance to it. I barely looked at it. Seems like it has something to do with Tara Reid, the washed-up actress. If it's not too late to go grabbing delegates, and here we've had primaries canceled or postponed rather, I wouldn't mind seeing Bernie hop back in there personally, but I can't tell him what to do. And frankly, the spin machine with calling him a communist and a nut and all this would just be too overpowering. And I honestly question if he could win, but I know where my sympathies lie if we want to talk about people with experience in national politics running for president. If we want to talk about outsiders, if we want to talk about what the national zeitgeist seems to be, where we're looking at all these fresh faces coming in without all the baggage and all the corruption, people that might affect real change and have the qualities needed to defeat Mr. Trump, I'll show you one. And I'm not the first person who said it. He mentioned it in passing in one of his videos, and now he's got the t-shirt saying, "In Vic we trust." I'm not entirely sure if he doesn't mean business. Why do I think he could win? Well, let's take a look at precedent. We got Trump, a man who held no prior political office, preceded by Obama, a man who was in the Senate for 4 years. But in all honesty, much of that time was spent readying a presidential campaign. And before that, he spent some years in the state legislature in Illinois, I believe. And then we got W, who spent some time as governor of Texas. But he only got there through his personal connections. And he seems to have been quite a stupid and incompetent man. Political experience don't seem to matter much these days, and I'm even beginning to wonder if it's a negative. So put that out of the equation. Guy's got balls, guy's got life experience, guy's funny, guy can beat Trump at his own game, guy makes sense, guy tells the truth. Everything he says rings true to me, and it ain't my fault that people gotta put things a certain way to get things done in this day and age. I didn't create this culture. A lot of people would... all they had to do was shut up sooner and stop repeating everything they heard, and it might have not come to this. I'm all in if you are, Vic. Let's hear what the guy has to say.
Hey, what do you say? My Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Google Plus, your sister's ass, the Pony Express. A very ticked off Vic here. Just the fact that I have to explain this is very sad. You know what ticks me off? Hypocrisy. Now follow me. I've always said that the social media could be a wonderful thing for humanity, but it can also be a real shitfest because there are always miserable people who will disagree no matter what is posted. If I posted something so simple like, I want a kitten, some people would respond, oh, what's the matter? You don't like dogs? You know, this is a problem for me, especially when a lot of my posts touch on subjects that are a little more intense than liking kittens. But here's where I'm going with this. My posts aren't actually political, but like kittens and dogs, some miserable bastards don't get what I'm trying to say, and their arguments are usually hypocritical, and some only want to hear what they want to hear. As an example, how hard is it for anyone to understand that when I said you can't be a patriot if you support Nazis and display a Nazi flag? But some people actually argued with me. Very few, but some did. My whole point is that you can't be for America if you're also for the Nazis. They are the exact opposites. But some people still disagree. It's like protesting for human rights while you have people tied up in your basement. I didn't say all patriots are Nazis. I said the ones that fly Nazi flags are. Don't be a hypocrite. Or when I called out Mitch McConnell for the stupid things he said about New York and blue states going bankrupt, I wasn't taking a side. I wasn't saying blue is better than red or Dems are better than Republicans. I was saying don't force any state to have to declare bankruptcy. It's a common sense approach based on how painful it would be to allow or force a state to go bankrupt. And of course, New York is my hometown, so I was upset that McConnell was directly attacking my home. But you got the idiots. Well, if you love New York so much, why did you move? Hey, I love my mother, but I had to move out of a house at some point. What the fuck does one thing have to do with the other? You can't move and still love your hometown? Some people saw this as an attack on the Republicans, which of course it wasn't. I even pointed out that most Republicans didn't agree with McConnell. But this is the mentality of some people, and I can tell you this isn't good for our country. You know, there's a famous saying that goes, methinks you doth protest too much. You know what that means? It means oftentimes if you protest a little too much, a little bit, it means you're probably guilty of whatever you are protesting against. Like when you see certain politicians who go hard after gay and lesbian rights, and they even go so far as to say really horrible and hurtful things like gays should be killed or AIDS was God's way of dealing with gays. Then so often you find out that that politician or religious person who took that hard line stand came out as a homosexual. It's like they were so self-hating and so afraid to face who they really were that they fought it to the point where they were hurtful to others and ultimately themselves. Methinks you doth protest too much. One ticked off Vic I did was about how dangerous it is for trucks and cars to not clean snow and ice off before they go on the road. And I had a few truckers who said, fuck you, and thought I was personally condemning all truck drivers. No. I was only saying that those truckers who have shit flying off their trucks are wrong to not clean them. Methinks doth protest too much. Get it? On another rant, I said, I hate it when road crews leave signs up and when there isn't even work being done and people are scrambling to change lanes and it's dangerous and it fucks up the traffic pattern. I was pointing out only those crews that do that or those times when it happens. It does happen, you know. I didn't dream it. And I didn't point out all crews. And of course, some people got upset. Protest too much? Look, I'll say this until I'm blue in the face or until my face gets red. How about that? Blue in the face or my face gets red so no one from either party gets offended? I don't take sides with a political party. I look for the common sense answer that suits humanity. I will never blindly follow a political or party platform. There's too many moving parts that I agree and disagree with for both parties. My son is gay and I accept him. That doesn't make me controversial. It makes me a loving father and a decent human being. And everyone should accept all people, regardless of their race, creed, color, sexual preference, any other factor, because that's the right and decent thing to do. For me, it's the only way a person should behave. I think we should help the less fortunate. I like my legal firearms, but I think we need to have background checks. I want the rich and the large corporations to pay their share in taxes. I think if certain politicians and wealthy people are going to argue that we shouldn't manufacture things in China and we should bring manufacturing back to the US, then they need to stop manufacturing things in China. Get it? It's called hypocrisy, and no one should be afraid to call out that bullshit. Open your eyes, open your mind, don't be in a cult. Be able to admit when people on all sides are wrong and right. Be decent to others. Be decent to animals. Be decent to nature. Just be decent. It's not that hard. Or maybe thou doth protest too much hypocrisy. That's what ticks me off.